Well, with the signing of that bill, U.S. sanctions against North Korea take effect. It went through both houses of the U.S. government at an unprecedented speed. How did that happen, and how are these sanctions designed to hurt that regime? Our Kwon Jang Ho explains.
The North Korea Sanctions and Policy Enhancement Act came into force as soon as President Obama signed the bill on Thursday. It's the first bill that targets North Korea specifically, and it marks a change of stance from Washington. Previous North Korea sanction bills had never made it past both the Senate and the Congress due to lawmakers looking to encourage negotiations with the communist state. But North Korea's recent actions have shifted opinion, and the bill passed through the chambers in an unusually quick fashion, garnering support from both sides of the aisle. On average, a bill takes 4 to 8 months to become law. This bill was signed in 37 days.
The speedy process of signing up and passing and signing up this resolution reflect the urgency and importance of the issue, North Korean nuclear issue, from the perspective of the United States.
The sanctions will freeze the assets of anyone under U.S. jurisdiction doing any kind of business related to North Korea's nuclear or weapons program or involved in human rights abuses. But perhaps more significantly is that the sanctions will now carry out secondary boycotts, meaning that the U.S. will also block any businesses and groups that do trade with the regime in third-party countries as well. The bill has been designed to choke off any outside sources of cash coming into the regime via such exports of coal, iron ore and other mineral resources from the north. These sanctions are expected to have the biggest impact in China. Although it is difficult to get definitive numbers, about 90% of North Korea's overseas trade is done with Chinese partners. Trade between China and North Korea is said to be worth about $6.8 billion US. It's currently hard to say which Chinese companies are currently in business with both North Korea and the US for the sanctions to take effect, but there are precedents. In 2013, the US government issued notices on 5 Chinese companies which had violated US government sanctions on Iran, Syria and North Korea, although which countries the companies were working with were not specified. Experts say that there is a possibility that China could react in a similar fashion.
China can do something about the US company which is involved in the weapons trade toward Taiwan. So there has been some dispute between the United States and China over this issue, but actually China indirectly used that kinds of measures vis-a-vis the US companies, which is...
The US sanctions come as negotiations are ongoing on a new UN Security Council resolution on North Korea. China, one of the 5 permanent members of the Council, has expressed its reservations about new UN sanctions on North Korea, suggesting instead a resumption of talks with the regime. But the South Korean government rejected such a proposal, saying the North needs first to stop provocations and show signs it is moving towards denuclearization. Washington is hoping that these sanctions and the upcoming UN Security Council resolution will encourage Beijing to take greater control over Pyongyang. Kwon Jang Ho, Arirang News.